The Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians is pleased to bring you training on a variety of assistive technologies. Please like and subscribe.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our session on what's new in iOS 26. So today we kind of is and I'm Richard and I'm on the training and technology committee, and with me is Diana Brent, our secretary of AABC, and this is being recorded for our YouTube channel and podcast, and will be available for later review once it's edited and ready for post-production work. So again, welcome everyone, and we're going to cover a topic. So we'll probably start out at first. We'll go over some general things, and then I think what we're going to be doing is more of a Q&A format, because people have had a chance to sort of work with iOS 26 now for since September, and it's gone through a couple of iterations since then. The latest version for those that haven't have done their update is iOS 26.2. So Diana, did you want to start with anything, or should I just go into a couple of things that I think people should know about right off the bat, or?
Why don't you start with the things that people want to know about, or that you want them to know about? Sorry.
Okay. Um, so a couple things that are new features that I noticed when I was reviewing the Apple Viz material, and also kind of with my own experience with iOS 26. Um, the one thing that I've used for a few iOS versions is copying the last phrase to the clipboard. So the three finger quadruple tap on the screen. There is now a new feature in iOS 26 that allows you to go to your routing, and it's called Speech Clipboard, and it allows you to review a number of items that were copied from VoiceOver to your clipboard. So, like if you copy, let's say, a username and then want to copy a password from another app to paste into something, you can actually now have them both in the clipboard, and then just go to the router to the review speech clipboard, and then and get all those items. And then once you're at one, you can just paste it into something as well. So that was the one thing that I noticed. The other thing that I wanted to that people make people aware of is, in most Apple apps, the search bar has moved to the bottom of the screen, except on Safari. Safari, you can still have your address bar slash search bar at the top of the screen. In it, you can change it in settings. So for those that use the search frequently, you probably already are aware of this, that you need to now tap the bottom of your screen to activate a search, and then it pulls information out from that as well. Some settings you may need to change. I think for the most part, we've all updated to iOS at 26.2. But if you were an early adopter and never made the change, when the first version of iOS 26 came out, Safari would default to the compact view mode, and so now you had to go back into Safari and reset the settings to have your search bar at the top and have it in sort of the more classic mode. If you were like myself and only updated after iOS 26.1, that wasn't an issue. Apple had restored that to maintain your previous setting, so it should be okay for others. What else? Let me just pause here. What else was I going to cover? No, I've forgotten. Oh, my notes have disappeared. Just bear with me for a minute.
One of the things while Richard is looking, and this isn't, is once you open the settings in VoiceOver, it's quite nice to, if you want to get a general idea of what the settings are in VoiceOver, there's a What's New in VoiceOver link. And that gives you a really good, if you swipe right from once you've opened VoiceOver, you can double tap on that link. And it just gives you a general overview of all of the settings that have new additions. Now, it doesn't give you a lot of information, but it does give you a sense of what you might be interested in, and then you can look further for it.
Okay, I inadvertently closed my note page, so I I think that's all I have. And Diana mentioned the other thing that I was that actually about the new settings. So and that's when you open up VoiceOver, it's near the top of the settings screen, and it's a link to give you a summary of what's new in VoiceOver. Because a lot of the new VoiceOver things involve Braille support and allowing you to do customized commands with Braille and it added additional Braille features not only to your interface with your Braille displays, but for anyone that's using on-screen input as well too. And it also created a whole new section where you can customize Braille commands as well too. So in VoiceOver as well. So there was a lot of changes for Braille. The other uh, thing is now you can actually open up BRF files, so the Braille format files, right into your phone and read them that way without actually converting them to something else first as well too. So anyone that gets material from Sela or Nels that's in BRF format, they actually can load it into their iPhone and read it on their Braille display without doing any translations. Um,
Perfect. Yes, I was going to talk about some of the Braille settings that have changed, but purposely not going into a lot of detail on them because the Braille users, if there's an interest, we can do a whole session on just the new Braille features. So today, I would be happy to answer questions about those, but we are not going to go and do a full demo of them, but we will talk about them and where to find them. The other one that's important, uh, because apparently, and I didn't know this, it was actually Marilyn found this out from Jen Gesso, which was very nice. But one of the things is a reset Braille voiceover setting. And if you do that, any settings you set are going to be thrown away. So do it knowing that. And then it'll go back to all of its default speech rate and all of the other settings that are its defaults, and you have to reset yours. But occasionally that setting has fixed some glitches in VoiceOver and Braille support. So that is one of the settings that you might want to look at playing with. If your voiceover is consistently doing things that you don't want it to do, you can use it to refocus or reset your all of your settings that relate to voiceover.
and that you can find in the bottom of your VoiceOver settings at the bottom, right at the bottom of the settings screen in VoiceOver. So if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see the reset VoiceOver to its defaults and that. But as Diana said, I would only use that as a last resort if nothing else is working to resolve your sort of ongoing VoiceOver glitches. The other setting in VoiceOver that I want, thing that's new in VoiceOver that I want to make familiar with, if you have another Apple device that may or may not be yours, but it's in immediate proximity to you. You can temporarily share your accessibility settings with that device. So you can go into VoiceOver and select the device that you want to activate, and then it will send your custom VoiceOver settings to that device, so you can use that device for a period of time and then that device will revert back to its previous state. So if it didn't have voiceover running, it shuts voiceover off and eliminates your accessibility settings from that device. So it can either be a device that already shares an iCloud account with you, or a device that's in your immediate proximity. So it probably similar. It operates in a similar way as AirDrop does. It has to be close enough to be recognized, and then you select the device, and then if VoiceOver is not running on that device already, you just place three fingers on the screen and hold, and it'll start VoiceOver, and then you have to on that device initiate the settings transfer. So like it would then allow you to sort of do your things. What AppleVis says is it is not quite as reliable with Braille. It wasn't sending all the Braille customizations for people, but it was a good way to be able to use another Apple device with some of your more customized accessibility settings as well too. So as well, so that's a more advanced thing that I don't think many of us would. If any of us have other Apple devices, we probably already have them set up for our needs anyhow. Like if you have an iPad and an iPhone.
It would be handy for teachers working with students, however,
Yeah.
because you could use it then to set their device up like yours and then walk them through certain settings. That would be handy in that respect.
Yeah. But it is a temporary state, so then, but at least it gives them an idea of what your settings are. Then you could at least help them set up their settings to be similar to your own settings.
Hmm.
What else? Some of the other things that, and I don't think this is a new feature, but in the audio settings in VoiceOver, there is a setting now that says uh, keep Siri tones on all the time. So like the tones that say that give the start Siri tone when you start talking to it, and then the tone when it's finished when it actually is just before it responds to you. I think that might have been an older setting, but it was highlighted as a new setting in AppleVis for some reason. But if you go to VoiceOver the audio settings, it's in there as announce Siri tones on or off, and if you and you'll probably find on your phone, it was on mine, it was already on. So and I like I said, I didn't realize that was a new feature because I thought mine has always been doing that, but maybe not. So that's another thing for hearing Siri. Some other things that have come up is you can actually create background white noise in this accessibility setting. So if you're sort of doing something, you want some background noise, you can have it create various white noise sounds that which can be accessed in other ways as well too. But it's in the accessibility settings. And I think that's about it. The other things that for any of us that have sight that you would probably notice with iOS 26 would be the liquid glass. And you can sort of temper that effect as well in the in the settings, display or accessibility settings to go from clear mode to translucent. But most of us probably don't aren't too worried about that because liquid glass didn't significantly change how VoiceOver operates. So I think I'll open,
Okay.
yeah, unless
Sorry.
you have anything to
Do
add.
you want me to? Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the new features of Braille screen input and the new features of the new Braille access, which you touched upon. But I know some of the people here have Braille displays. Um, for the sake of the recording, I'm going to start with Braille screen input and the elevator pitch for Braille screen input. If you know Braille, you can make dot formations on your screen with your fingers, either putting the phone flat on a table surface and tapping with your first, second, and third finger on each hand that correspond to the Braille dots, or you can hold it in screen away mode, which means you're holding it in your hand and your fingers are hooked over so the screen's facing away from you in landscape mode, and you are tapping the screen in order to get the braille dots, and then the dots are spoken, and once they're spoken, it doesn't speak the dot numbers, it speaks, well, it can sometimes, or it'll speak the letters that you press. Your phone speaker voiceover will do that, and you can use it to type when you don't have a braille keyboard. And it's very handy. We could do a full session on braille screen input. One of the settings that is very useful for braille screen input is a lot of people had trouble with calibrating the dots, so that you knowing where to tap on the screen was an issue. And that has gotten a lot better in braille screen input. Um, it's much more accurate, and there is a setting, and I'm just looking to find exactly what it's called. Um, and now I don't see it. But what it basically does, and I have turned it on, it means it learns, because it's using AI, to where your fingers are positioned, and it learns where you most commonly put them, and it makes that a lot easier to accurately type on the screen using braille screen input. Um, and you can set the dots up in reverse mode, which it switches dots 1, 4, and 3, and 6. I have never done that, but some people do. There's a new mode which confounds me, and I have never tried it. It's called slate and stylus mode, which to me is very scary. But if people want to find out about it, it's definitely in under braille screen input. And so you can set that up. The other new thing is we used to have braille screen input in the rotor in order to activate it. Now you can set it up so that if you put a finger on the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen, and double tap them simultaneously, it will switch braille screen input on for you. So you don't anymore have to go and find it in your rotor. The other thing you can do with braille screen input, and then you just move your fingers in opposite directions, so you could slide them towards each other, and that would deactivate it. You can also set it up, and I haven't done this, under the commands mode, so that every time you go into an edit field, braille screen input actively turns on, so that you don't have to do any of those things. Just whenever you're in an edit field, you have braille screen input. So those are some of the choices under braille screen input, and you can customize a lot of the commands. Now you can do chorded commands, which you couldn't do before. And I'm not going to go any further into it because it's a specialized topic. But if people want to know more about it, I would encourage you to get in touch with the training committee. And it's generally been Richard's address. Which address do you want to use, Richard, when they get in touch? And we can do a special session.
Yeah, so if you want to get in touch, you can write to me at richardanddog@icloud.com, or if you forget that, just send Diana a note to her address, and we compile a list of topics for the training. So yeah, so if people really want the session on braille screen input and a little bit more information about braille using the iPhone with the braille displays, I think that would be great, and we could definitely cover that in one session or two sessions, but definitely braille screen, because braille screen input is is something that I know I've tried it and given up on it because it was so hard to get it in and out of it sometimes. But yeah, it's so.
And you can get in touch with me at secretary@blindcanadians.ca if you want to contact me and add training topics or training questions. You can use that address as well.
And for those of you
Sorry.
that know for those of you that know my regular email address, you can just use that. But the email address I gave is the one that I field training requests at, just so I can kind of keep it separate from my personal emails as well. But
Perfect. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, and I'm just going to check and make sure, because I want to make sure we get time for questions, but we still have lots of time. So I want to talk about Braille access. And this is, Richard touched on it, it's a totally new feature in iOS 26. And it basically turns your phone and Braille display. And actually, you can now turn a QWERTY keyboard into a Braille display using SDFJKL. That is another setting under VoiceOver, under keyboards, I believe, where you can set up that setting in and make your, I guess you could use a Bluetooth keyboard. I don't because I have a Braille display, but you can use that keyboard to enable a Braille key input. So that's another possibility. But here, let's talk about Braille access from anywhere on your screen. And so you press dot 7 and 8, not a chord, not with the space bar, just dot 7 and 8, and a menu pops up. And we'll talk about each of these items in general today. And if people are if people are interested, we can run a session on this. The first one is Launch App. And I love Launch App. And that's what it says on my display. Launch App, and I've got a cursor. And I can type any app that I know is on my phone, and I can do it in uncontracted or contracted Braille, and it will open that app. So if I want to type Outlook, I just type OUT and I press enter, and it opened up my Outlook that fast. It moved me into Outlook, and that's just from the Braille access menu. And as soon as it opens that program, it goes out of that Braille access mode. But it's a toggle, so I can go back in with dot 7 and 8. And so Launch App is the first one. The next one below that is Braille Notes. Now, anybody that's used their Note app to write notes, either using Siri or a keyboard or your phone keyboard, it works, but I find it has a lot of clutter, tools I don't want, all of this in this stuff. Now, with Braille Notes, I can just press enter and I get a menu that will show me the first thing is new. And then if I press enter on new, I am in a new note. It says new note, and I can give it a name, and I could call it my name, say. So I type that, and now that's the name of the note. And now I can write information in that note. And I can write in Braille, and it will keep it in Braille. It does not know how to, it's a dumb mode in the sense that if you write in Braille, you get Braille out. If you were to write in letters, you would get just the letters. I'm not explaining this well. If you write in uncontracted Braille, you would get uncontracted Braille. It will not back translate. It only knows how to write in whatever code you enter in. But one of the great uses for that is you could use it, say, to keep all of your passwords. And because you're writing them in Braille, they're automatically encrypted, and nobody else but you can read them. So the Braille Notes feature is very useful. The next one is a the BRF files, and basically you store your files in the cloud, on your in your iCloud drive, and once you go into BRF, that you do the .7 and 8, and then you arrow down or to the BRF, and you press enter. And I happen to have two files in here. I have new, which means I could actually add a new one, or I have working with iDevice rotors. I just happen to have put that in. If I press a cursor button on my display on that file, I have a formatted file with my headings and everything in that file, because it's pulled up that file and I'm reading it in Braille on my display. And when I'm finished, I can just press the .7 and 8 again and bring up Braille access. And the other cool thing about books is it remembers where you left off in your file. So if you close it, you're reading a book and you want to get out of it, you can just close it, open it up again, and there you are in the same place you were before. So it remembers, which is fabulous. Okay, so the next item under BRF is choose item, and I haven't really played with that. Under that is live captions, and this is cool because it will automatically take information. If you press enter on, or I mean, press a cursor button on live captions, and you set up in settings whether you want to use it from your microphone on your phone. So if your phone is listening to, let's say, a Zoom podcast or whatever, it'll pick that up. Or you can do other kinds of input. And it puts everything that is being spoken on your Braille display. And you can read along, and it'll scroll at your reading speed. But if you want to see the last thing written, you just press a cursor button and it will take it to the last item on the screen. So for like deafblind users, this would be ideal for people who wanted to access the closed caption information. The last thing is the time, and it tells me here it's 1:32 p.m. So that's the last thing in Braille access that I can show. The other command I just discovered that is Braille is this. I didn't understand it, but it's basically an item chooser, and you press .7, 8, 6, 7, and 8 together, and it turns your screen. You know how if you're swiping through, you got to swipe, 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 or if you're using a Braille display, it shortens everything to three-letter mnemonics. So my clock is turned into CLO. Google has turned into GOO. But the advantage is on a Braille display, you can get several items on your screen. You don't have to navigate. You can get several items on your display at once, and you press a cursor button and it immediately opens that app. So that's the point of this shorthand way of getting apps in Braille on your screen. So I think from me, that's it. If people now have questions or Richard has more to say, I'll pass it back.
One thing to note for people, you're in your settings before you go and dive into VoiceOver, said you'll probably see something. You'll see live captions in your settings under the hearing heading. That's different than what Diana's explained for the Braille support live captions. Same idea. It's still doing live captions, but you have to actually enable it under the Braille support to enable it to work with your Braille display as well too. So it's just so you know the other thing that I wanted to mention, and it's under the accessibility settings menu, is for Siri. There is a setting in Siri in the accessibility settings now that you can have it to always listen for the words "Hey Siri," um, before even if your phone isn't facing up. So if it's facing down or something like that, or away facing away, it you can change it so it would always listen to that, because in the usually it only listens for those words if your phone's display is facing up. So if it's on a table or you've got your phone display against you or stuff like that, or in then you can change it so it's always listening for those words. So that's a good feature to know for any one of us that aren't really concerned about how our phone display is facing as well too. Um, and I think those are the things that I had as well. And Diana, thank you for that comprehensive coverage of the Braille display stuff so as well too. So we'll open the floor for questions. So if people just want to, there's a fair number of us here, but if we can just start out, if people just want to unmute and ask their questions, and if it gets a little more like cross chat, then we'll actually we'll take hands. So if the first person wants to ask, go ahead.
So the Braille
Okay.
access, oh, sorry, someone else
No,
wanted
it's
to-
okay.
Yeah.
You go
Sorry,
first.
Martha. Yeah, the Braille access, that is strictly for people using a display. I mean, I think that was pretty
That
obvious. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you can use it with a Mantis keyboard. And I wish Kib was here because I can't remember the command. I could look it up and I can find out. But the output is to your, it'll speak as well, but it's really to your Braille display. So
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
you would use it with a Braille display. So you could
Yeah.
use it with your Brilliant. You happen to use it with my Focus, but it can be any of those things.
Yeah. I was just asking for people on the call that may not have Braille displays, just so everybody knew
Exactly. Yeah.
that.
So I'm assuming, Diana, it's Richard, the command when you said the dots 7 and 8, like, as I have a Mantis Braille display, so like I would just use my file navigation commands on the Mantis to do the same things in that BRF directory then.
Yes, you would
Yeah.
you would use like your arrows and that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing to move
And
around.
yeah,
Well, dot 7 and 8 is just not so much navigational, but that invokes Braille access.
Braille
So
access.
those two, yeah, that's what dot 7 and 8 does on a Braille display. And
Yes.
there is a command, and I'll look it up for you later, Richard, that will tell you what the Mantis command is, because there is one for it. It's like something like Alt Control something.
Yeah. I'll look it up too. I can just look it up.
Okay.
The one thing that I've learned lately is ChatGPT and Gemini are becoming a lot better at providing accessibility specific answers for things that you kind of think nobody's going to know as well too. So yeah.
Okay, I have two questions about Braille access. The
Okay.
first,
Did we lose you, Marcy?
Hello?
it. Oh,
We did.
geez. Okay.
You're back.
All right. Yeah, I'm back. Of course, as soon as I want to say something, that's when it does its little thing. So, can you hear me still?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay.
But we didn't hear any of the questions that said the first.
Okay, so
and you
here we
disappeared.
go. So
Go for it.
So the first question is the Notes app in Braille Access. I'm assuming there's a way to save that note.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming, and this is my question really, if you want to read that note again, you've got to go using Braille Access. You can't get to it any other way. So You
No,
still have to
it's
use,
in a
okay,
yeah, it's in
okay,
that special directory, and you can make folders. One of the options once you invoke the notes is new folder, new file. So you can
okay.
organize them, but they're in their own file. As soon as you open Braille Access for the first time on your phone, it creates the basic top directory level for it, and it's somewhere in iCloud. And you see it if you go into your iCloud Drive. You can see Braille Access in there.
Okay, now, okay, I lost you guys. All right.
No,
Oh,
no. We lost you. You were disappearing.
Okay. Oh, okay. My question is no, and you almost answered. How do you know where you've got a BRF file and it's on your computer and you want to put it to iCloud into the folder? How do you know where to put it? Does does iCloud now have, once you've gone into Braille Access, a folder that is aptly named so that you can actually
yes. Yeah,
go
it
there?
has a BRF folder that will
Okay.
turn up. But it's on once you create, and I haven't played with this a lot, but I do have one and it does work. But it has, once you open your iCloud Drive, it's just, and I don't remember whether it's under Braille Access or just BRF in that folder. I have to look, but it's at that top level directory.
So it's intuitive, you can find it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. Thank you. Those were my questions.
Okay.
It's Marilyn. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been having some of the same issues as Marcy, so thank you for letting me back in when I pressed my unmute button and everything went away. But anyway, I'd like to share something that I've been doing in Braille Access that I find really helpful, and it's probably a little awkward, but I'm just thrilled that I can do it. So I've joined a new choral group, and I was looking for some words to a song. And so what I did is I went to onto Google and found it. And you know how there's always a whole bunch of junk um, in an internet file where you have some of what you want and a whole bunch of what you don't. So I selected it all, and then I went into my Braille Access and to the notes file and made a new note, and I just did a paste. And it took me a while to figure out how to do that, but I was able to do it. And then I was able to edit out all the things that I didn't want. So I have a customized note for every song that I want, and I just gave each note the title of the song. And I just love it. I think it's great.
That's a perfect example of how to use it. I assume it's showing them to you in computer Braille or
No,
okay.
it gives it to me in contracted Braille.
And I think that's because, just to give people a bit of background of your translation settings, making it so that you can do that. Yeah,
But I haven't wanted to find out because I haven't wanted to mess with it. It's perfect.
exactly.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because that's the way I have my Braille displays set to translate into contracted Braille. So that I guess that's if that's the case. So because originally, Diana, you were saying that the notes only works with the whatever you input. Like if you're inputting a note, like if you type it in uncontracted Braille, it's going to come out on contracted Braille. But I guess if you're pasting from the clipboard, it reverts to whatever your display setting is.
Right. Yeah. I just meant if you type a note, however you type it, it's not going to back translate if you type in grade 2 Braille. At least I haven't seen it do that, which is fine because that's the way you're wanting to read those notes. Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention is a question that may be too off topic, and it's about the reset option for settings, voiceover settings, which I did have to do, and I'm very glad I did it. The one problem that I cannot solve is the rotor went back to its original way of doing things where you turn your fingers like you turn a radio knob. And I've tried for about a month and I still can't get that right. And I would like to be able to switch it back to my preferred gesture that I did so long ago that I don't remember how to do it. So if anyone has any information on how to change the rotor gesture that you use to go between like words and characters and all that, I would really like that information because it's driving me nuts. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I have it under my
You're
rotor.
working with
Yeah.
the rotor
Yeah.
on iDevices. If you could
Yeah.
send that to me, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, because you have to go into your commands and hand gestures and customize a gesture for that. Because we actually covered that. Yeah, we'd actually covered that in another session. So I think yeah, if you have notes on that, Diana, that'd be great. Because you have to go into your gesture customization and assign it to other hand gestures. Like some people assigned it to a two-finger left and right swipe on their
That's
screen.
what I had, and I
Yeah.
really liked it.
Yeah, and then
But
that
I
way
don't
that's
remember how to do it.
yeah, that's yeah, because it's a bit of a long process. And then the other thing you'll need to do, Marilyn, is if you added additional items to your router, you will have to go into the router setting and voiceover and re-add those things back to your router again as well too.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole topic, and we
I know, that's
purposely
why I said it's
didn't
off topic.
do it I mean, no, but this is good because it's telling us what we could revisit. But the other thing is, this is the whole point. If we do an overview, then we can highlight what things people are needing.
And I would be really interested in a separate session on the new Braille features, Braille display features and whatever.
Okay.
What's happening? What is it? What, Thursday? Isn't that what the Braille Literacy Canada session is
The
going
Braille
to
users,
It's
be?
the
for
Braille display user
Android.
group.
No,
No.
the World Braille Day, but it's for Android users, Braille
Oh, right.
gestures for the uh,
I thought it was
using a Braille
iOS
display.
and Brent. I
Well,
thought it was
you're right.
iOS
You're
and
right. It's
Android.
iOS and Android, and I suspect they're gonna like do an hour of each, but it is all the Braille features that are focused in those two operating systems using a Braille display. I don't know that they're gonna go into Braille screen input. They may.
No, Braille access, they probably will. I would
Maybe.
think so.
But
I would think so.
the features related
Yeah.
to Braille displays probably specifically though, I guess, right? Is that
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say, that they're for Braille displays specifically. But
Well,
that's on
okay.
Thursday, January 22nd.
oh, it's like 2 days from now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
It's 2 days. And
at 1 o'clock Eastern.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
1 o'clock
yeah.
Eastern. And the link is for registration, and I'm sure it's still open. It was in Friday Connect.
Yeah, if it's one of those Zoom link things, they like I'm not sure, can't remember what the Zoom's default is for pulling down, making those links inactive, but you should still be able to register because it usually it's kind of the day before where the Zoom link stops registering people or depending on whatever time they've set for
Mhm.
that. Yeah.
Mhm. Any other questions?
Any general questions about
Hi.
voiceover?
This isn't, oh, sorry. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Diana. Hi, Richard.
Hi,
It's
Gal.
Hilton. So I have a question about what you talked about at the beginning, where you can transfer your voiceover settings to somebody else's device. So, two questions. First of all, is this like a workaround? I've always wanted to find a way to experiment with voiceover, but then if it didn't work out, be able to go back to my original settings. So if you did this to somebody else's device, could you bring it back to yours? Or can you think of any other way that, once I fool around, it doesn't work out? I don't want to go back to default. I want to go back to like where I was an hour ago.
So the way this works, Hilton, is the way it actually works is what you do is so if you're at home, like in like wherever you are, you're gonna go into that option and voiceover and start it on your device. And it's going to show a list of devices that are in proximity to you, one's signed into the same iCloud account as you, or ones that are close to you. Like, so it could be something else. You're going to choose that device, but then you have to then pick up that device and actually activate the actual transfer of settings, and it is only temporary. As soon as the session ends, that device reverts back to its previous state. So if it didn't have voiceover running, it'll shut voiceover off and clear all your custom settings from that device as well. So it allows you to play with your own settings on another device without actually affecting it, for sure. But if you want it to be permanent, you can't. The only way you can copy the settings over is really making that device one of your devices, like restoring, basically doing a reset of that device and making it have the same settings as yours, in the sense that like basically like setting it up like a new device, which I'm sure you don't really want to do. So then you'd have to manually copy the settings over from one device to the other, like as you go through the settings, like your speech rate, what the items on your router, any custom gestures you have for the router. And as it was on the blog post on AppleVis, some of the issues with that settings transfers, some custom settings, especially in the Braille area, weren't making it to the other device. So
Hmm.
so it really is more I think to sort of to have a sort of a more sort of stock uh, experience that sort of it recognizes your custom speech settings, like maybe your speed and maybe what items you might have in your router, but it may not recognize, say, the custom gesture for moving your router around, like Marilyn was talking about earlier, or a custom Braille setter for activating a command that you set up in a Braille on screen input mode or something.
Hmm. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. I don't know if this is helpful, but for the rotor, I use two hands. So I put one hand on one side, one hand on the other, with my thumb sticking over the edge, and I move one thumb up and the other thumb down, and the
Yeah.
rotor thinks that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm thinking, God, you didn't give me enough fingers.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the other way that people do it without setting up a custom gesture as well too is they do something similar to what you do, and they'll place one finger on the screen, like their thumb, and then and act until they hear the router activate, and then just swipe the another finger up and down the screen as well too. So
Oh,
it works the same as what you're
Mhm.
basically doing as well too.
hmm.
So neither one
Oh,
is
very,
wrong; it's just different.
very handy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a
Thank
lot
you.
of
That's
people keep
helpful.
a lot of people keep their their two fingers just on the phone, and then arc the phone and don't even move
I've
with your
tried
other
that
hand.
too. I
And
think I don't know. I think I'm
that
like
works for
you.
some people.
Yeah, I've
Um,
tried it all in the last little while, and I've decided it's worth making the effort to go back to what I liked.
Yeah.
Well, can I speak on this? I mean, I
yeah.
could never do the old radio, as I call it, the radio dial.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I actually, when it first came out in the first iOS, I had someone sit down with me and give me that two finger left and two finger right. I'm one of them who uses it. I go, why isn't it so simple to use the router like that? Because it is so simple. You know,
Yeah,
I know what.
but as Marcy's learning on Android, that is the default gesture: three
Oh
fingers to the left and
my.
right, or three fingers up and down on the screen, and it
Oh
changes their
gee.
what Android calls reading mode.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
So, but
Well,
I'm
I
just
just
saying is,
yeah.
but I've been told in the latest update, it is easier to change that. I don't know if that's true or not.
And then the other thing in the latest update, there's a lot of things you can customize your commands for and keyboard shortcuts for if you're using it with a keyboard. And I believe, Diana, I'm gonna have to look at it again, but it might actually work for customizing some of your Braille commands as well too.
I think,
Under
well,
the
yeah, there is
Yeah,
a whole
yeah.
section on customizing Braille commands, which I didn't get into because I wasn't sure how many. I mean, I think people should know about it, but how many were actual Braille users?
Yeah.
I think if enough Braille users request it, that we can have a session, we would just do a whole session on Braille displays and gestures that, that you can use with your Braille display. I mean, they've changed the cursor now and I love it. So it's the same as on the computer. It used to be two dots in a different cell. It would be dot 8 and dot 7 in separate cells. And now you can change it. That's another setting under VoiceOver and Braille to be like the Braille displays show on your computer. So it's dot 7, 8 within the same cell.
Oh,
And
perfect.
that's really nice too. That was one of the first things I did, and I've never looked back.
I did
Oh,
exactly the same thing.
yeah, and there's actually in VoiceOver, that is another one of the new things. You can actually even change how the cursor behaves on your phone as far as how where it actually where it places text and whether because the default setting was either like if you're moving forward, it was like the if you're moving back, it was always before the letter you were editing or something. Now you can move it around to place it to the right or left of the text where in if you're in the edit fields in the settings as well too. So there's a lot of customizing things now happening and with voiceover. That's which is good and bad, but it's good in the sense that it makes you can make your phone experience a little more like your computer experience.
Well, it's Marilyn again. This brings to mind another question. I don't know if anyone has run into this, but I'm finding that when I'm typing on my Braille display, say in a message or something, that my Braille display cursor doesn't always keep up with what I'm writing, and the writing is there, but my cursor's not following it. And I was wondering if it's a setting I need to change because I haven't run into that before.
I'd have to usually if my cursor isn't where I want it, I just press the cursor button and it jumps to there.
Okay, well
Yeah,
that's
try
a good
that.
idea.
That might have been a bug, Marilyn, in iOS 26. Is if you on the Apple Viz blog, there was a lot of things about various bugs and things, and I think there was
Okay.
even more recently some issues because there's some of the bugs have been Apple's been quite sort of fixing them as they release versions of iOS
I
26,
noticed,
but
yeah.
there's some of it still may exist even with this current version of
Okay.
iOS
Well,
26.
that's good to know because I wondered if I'd done something that I shouldn't
Because
have.
I think following the cursor was one of the things I kind of scanned through this morning. But to be honest with you, I don't use my Braille display with my
Right.
phone that
No,
much
I
on my
understand.
computer. So
Oh,
I
Marilyn,
just,
you know about the rotor?
Yeah.
I find it a lot easier to move my phone and keep my fingers in one position.
A
But you
lot of
have to
people
do
do.
it slow or you skip stuff and you have to move it a little bit the other way and
Maybe that's my problem.
but
Thank you.
it's much easier than trying to do the radio dial.
Oh, I just can't.
It's ridiculous, especially if your fingers aren't as flexible as they used to be. It's kind of a nuisance.
Well, I never have been able to do it, so I'm hopeless.
Well, in Hilton, his idea with the two fingers on
Right.
separate hands is great. I don't know, Hilton, whether you have an iPhone too, but I know you're using an iPad, and because of the bigger screen and everything, that's an easier way to move the cursor or move the rotor on an iPad, is moving your fingers in opposite directions,
Yeah,
one
it's
on
an
each
i
hand.
it's an
Some
iPad, but
ways,
it's a mini, and it's not
Right.
that much bigger than my sister's
yeah.
iPhone 16.
Mm.
And I wanted to measure, and who knows what a radio dial is anyway.
So,
Oh,
Hilton,
you're not that young. You know on a radio dial.
you're just too young. You just don't want to admit it.
That's right.
Okay, someone
Other
just raised their hand,
questions?
but I can't.
Oh.
Someone,
I think it's me.
it's you, Peg.
Okay,
Yeah,
Did I
go
say
ahead.
something?
Sorry,
No.
yeah, I just saw that. Yeah.
I have a couple things. Maybe I'll go on. The first thing I've noticed sometimes if I'm going onto a bank site and I'm just using the on-screen keyboard to type in the password. Now I've noticed the position of the keys of the numbers and letters seems to have switched over to the left or to the right. Anyway, it's like the keyboard positions have shifted a bit. And I've just only noticed that on a couple of bank sites, and I don't quite know. I've never noticed that before in previous versions
Is
of
that
iOS.
a Braille keyboard or a
No, no,
regular?
just a regular on-screen keyboard.
I
Yeah.
think it might depend with your banking app. So sometimes the banking, depending how they program their app, sometimes what they'll do is if you're just entering numbers, they'll pull up what like basically a version of a phone
Keypad.
number pad, a
Oh,
keypad.
yeah.
Like
Mhm.
so, like
Oh,
you'll
yeah.
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the zero at the bottom
Oh,
at the
yeah. No,
middle.
I've seen that. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen that. No, this is
but
the
it's
mhm.
I'm not sure why, because I personally have been able to sort of get the keyboard on the bottom. So are you using your phone in portrait mode or landscape mode?
Well, I usually use it in portrait. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
not sure why
and
it
I
would be to the
um,
left.
Yeah, I've never
I
seen
don't
that
either.
either.
I've never seen it in a
Never
different
seen
yeah,
that.
I
place.
don't know what. Maybe there's something. I'm sure I'm set to portrait and it's locked on that. I'll double check that. But
Yeah,
I
check that. Make
haven't
sure.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it on any other one. So anyway, one time I just switched to Braille screen input and put it in that way, which worked fine. But yeah, I thought, oh, this is weird. The other
Why,
question,
But
keep
in
track of
general,
what
you're
banking app it
using.
was. And if it was like it was say it was Van City, and I don't know if you're one of the people that updated the new version of the app or not yet, but keep track of which bank it was, and if it was only that particular one, you might want to reach out to them and because maybe they are having issues with their keyboard and voiceover being turned on at the same
yeah,
time.
I'll
Yeah.
be actually it was RBC and TD with both of those. I think I know it, but I'll
Oh, it's
try it
both. Yeah.
again.
Um,
Yeah.
but Peg, you're in general working with a newer, larger screen than you used to, because you used to be an SE compared to you
Oh
got
yeah,
the
no, the
16.
16E is not very much bigger.
The
You know, it's
16E would be the same size
about the
screen as
same
the phone
size.
I've
Yeah.
got.
No,
Yeah.
it's a little bit. Oh, yeah, it's a little bigger than the
Yeah,
SE3
and
though.
that can change things a little bit. Like just
Mm,
if you
Mhm.
it's not
have.
this. It's the same size as the 14 Pro, which is what I've got, and like so. I don't
Okay.
know. Maybe the SE the keyboard usually just goes across the bottom third of the
Yeah.
screen. So
Yeah, yeah.
just
Or
kind of
that's
make like if your number 9 or 0 is at the right hand side of the screen, it's just like Lisa's partially right. It could be because your screen's a little bit bigger and your keyboard keys are slightly bigger than
yeah.
say on your smaller screen phone.
Right. And it's
Mhm.
mostly with the letters. Like I'm typing in a series of letters first, and then it's like they're not quite in the right position. But
Yeah, your
anyway,
A should still be near the left of the left, kind of the
yeah,
left of the screen,
yeah.
and
And they just
then same with your semicolon and your L or JKLM.
right. Yeah, they just seem to be
Yeah.
shifted over a bit. So
Yeah.
an anomaly. The other question I have is when you're having so many times when we have to put in like some of these verification codes and they send you a text and you're in an app like Save On or even
Mhm.
My Bank, and you have to switch screens to get to your message and then try to. This is where I'm not sure if there's a nifty way to copy the code so you don't have to memorize it to type it into your app that needs the code, if you know what I mean. Like it's time sensitive.
Yeah.
So,
So there's a couple of things you could do. You could when you get the code, when you hear voiceover read it, you could do your three finger quadruple tap
if
and then
it's on the
paste it.
same, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
If it's on a line by itself, sometimes,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
if it's
that's the
on a
and
key.
paste
numbered
it in and
Yeah.
keypad,
paste
it
it.
won't work.
The other
Yeah.
thing is now I'll look it up where it is because I can't remember. There is a setting on the iPhone that says that like when your keyboard comes up, fill code from messages,
Yep,
and
I
I
it'll
have
saw
that.
that and I
Mhm.
yeah
did that actually. That was cool. I thought, okay,
Yeah, it'll
if that's,
show up every time.
yeah
It's
ah,
become a common thing.
yeah.
oh,
Yes,
that's
I
good.
love it.
Yeah, that's so handy.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's right.
I try for that first
Yeah.
before I go through the frustration of trying to either memorize the code or try to or copying it in time before
Well,
something
yeah,
jumps out
because
on me.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, thank
And the
you.
advantage to that too,
Mhm.
Peg, is if you use it, it deletes the message automatically from your text messages too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Yeah.
It
Oh,
didn't do
didn't
interesting.
that
do
to
it.
me. It
It
doesn't do
well
that to
Oh,
sometimes
me.
sometimes it does.
Sometimes,
Sometimes everyone's
yeah.
I've lately been getting it doing happening more often.
Okay.
But it does, yeah, every once in a while it won't do it. And that fill code from messages also works for email too. So if you have your
Oh,
email program open on an account where you're receiving a verification code,
Mhm.
it's not quite as reliable, but it'll do it from email as well too.
you have to have it actually open.
You have to have that mail account open. So you have to
oh yeah,
like
you
say,
do. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And where again do you find fill code from message?
It's usually at the top of the keyboard when the keyboard comes up on the screen. So if you're using Braille
Okay.
screen input, I don't know if it would come up there, but if you're on the regular QWERTY keyboard or
Wow.
number pad that comes up on the bottom when
I
you have to
had
fill in.
no idea. Thanks
Do
for
you
that.
have to
Yeah.
switch to your message screen first for that to come up?
No,
No, you just
no.
you stay
Okay,
in your code. Yeah, you stay in your
I
app that
had a
moves the code.
question
Yeah.
on the mail part, email. So you said email would have to be open. Does the actual email have to be open, or
No,
just your
no,
email box?
Just your
just as
client.
long just your mail client and just make sure that you're probably if you expect if let's say let's just say it's Rogers or Shaw sending you the email, just make sure that that particular mail account is open in the background. It doesn't, you don't have to actually have up on your screen, but
Okay,
make sure
that
it's open in the background, and then when that message comes through in the list of messages, it pulls the code off the message.
okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And I didn't realize that it had to be open until the one time when I thought, well, that's weird. I heard my mail ding, but where's the code? And then realized, oh, I guess I'd get then I tried it with the account open, and then it pre-populated the code for me.
Yeah, that is just it's a real game changer there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
found I can also enter passwords if it
Oh,
should
yeah.
show that on a password, but I enter them all in grade 2 Braille from my Braille display, and they always work. And I think it's to do that I have my input and output table set the same under Braille display settings, and I have the translation on so that it back
Back translate it.
translates
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can type in grade 2 Braille. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I think I'm going to turn off the recording now, unless there's any more questions related to our topic, or
Yeah. Sure, go for it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, and
Thank you, Diana.
this will be on YouTube or the podcast feed when I think if we think it's worthy of that. Thank you for checking out our content. To learn more about the Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians, please visit www.blindcanadians.ca. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe.